Hello there and welcome to this vlog of January 2025, and in today's video we're going to talk about everything that happened on the BattleTech Kickstarter page yesterday because we had a couple of news drops. It was all very interesting, so I'll go into some forensic detail on that and we can try to figure out what's happening over the next few weeks. Before I get into that though, just a quick word on my voice specifically. I've had this horrible throat infection over the last week. It's not been too bad. It's not made me feel too ill. It's just completely taken the usage of my vocal cords away. So I was speaking like this for 3 days, and for me, my voice is everything, right? Boy can't speak, boy can't earn. So I was like, oh no, not the voice. Do anything else other than the voice. So yeah, I got up this morning though, and it had recovered quite a bit, but it's still a little bit off. So apologies if that's coming through in the audio. I think as well, I was just checking I can see my camera feedback here, and I'm looking considerably more pasty than usual, which is hard for someone as pasty as I am. So yeah, you might have to put some sunglasses on to watch this from the white sheen coming through here. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to what happened yesterday, because it was all quite amusing, and I was slightly out of it because it all kind of went on at weird times of day for me, and I have, despite being ill, I've still been working, so I was kind of seeing this come through on my phone, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. The first update that we got, which came, this just to put this in context, it's several hours before the second update, which we'll talk about obviously separately. But the first update we've got was really quite horrifying. It basically, I'm sure if you are in the EU or in an EU country, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about here. It went into quite a bit of detail on how the EU customs people had basically audited the Kickstarter shipment. So I presume that's just in a cargo container at this juncture. Now, when I saw that, and I think CGL were a bit bureaucracy, that kind of thing, and my heart absolutely sank. Now, to put this in context, this story does have a happy ending, and Catalyst were actually correct in their. I don't want to say they were being nonchalant about it. They weren't, but they seemed very relaxed about it. I think if I was doing that post out to people who were already quite, whatever it was, nearly 6 months delayed on the Kickstarter, I probably would have been quite trepidatious because it basically, if you are in Europe, which I know quite a few of my viewers are, I don't think there's anything quite put the fear through a European like EU customs person. I mean, I've had to deal with some of these people in my work career, and well, let's just say if you've ever seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and you know what a Vorlon, I think it's a Vorlon. There's that's one of those words that all the other sci-fi franchises stole, right? Like Babylon 5 have Vorgons or Vorlons, and then the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. The Vorlons, whatever they're called, the bureaucratic, terrifying race that just will not let up on their ability to kind of paper chase and just make everything into a bureaucratic nightmare situation. They're actually quite a funny species, and obviously Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a very famous, funny book. But I think that, truth be told, I mean, given that the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was written in and around the time that the EU was established as as a trade entity, right? So obviously the EU goes back years and years to post World War II, and there's been different treaties. But I always wonder if Douglas Adams came across some kind of EU bureaucrat or technocrat or customs person and was like, I'm going to base my bad guy off of you. It could have quite easily been someone in the British civil service. They can be equally as bureaucratic as obviously most civil servants can, or people in that kind of line of work. But from the point of view of like customs, there is nothing at the moment in Europe more traumatic and horrifying than like EU customs. I'm joking, right? Like, so the people, they're obviously just doing their job, but it's the mechanics of it that can be really problematic. Same with like, so like the English civil service. I know dozens of amazing English civil servants, but the process that they're all kind of shackled to can be so problematic and difficult, and it just kind of churns human life. Um, and in a sense, it's not a dissimilar situation from like say like an EU customs person. So we got the news that the entire shipment had been like audited, and it's something to do with some what I mean. I'm not even going to read it out, but it was some like trivia about payments by one party as opposed to the person that was putting the thing through. It was one of those like box not ticked correctly, going to scupper your whole thing here and put it in a warehouse for 10 months, right? It was one of those like situations where I read it and I was like, no, no, it can't, they can't do, no, no. Um, I mean, it was one step away. I think in terms of like horror, obviously it's not as bad as getting a post saying that the shipping container has sank and the Kickstarters were now on the bottom of the Atlantic. That would have obviously been finale. But for this one, it was probably just like one step away removed from that. Like, okay, so yes, it's not lost on the bottom of the sea, but it's now lost in the chamber that Indiana Jones gets to put the Lost Ark at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? And you just have this like nightmare vision of this of our Kickstarters, not ours. I mean, it's obviously the EU Kickstarters just lost it somewhere in, I don't know, Germany or Holland in a giant transit station. But there is good news to that story though, so bear with me. The second bit of news, and I'm not going to cover it all because most of it is quite perfunctory, but the other one of note was Australia, and this one actually, okay, Australians, I'm sorry, right, but this one did make me laugh because this is your logistics company, right? This is what and CGL are traditionally very very like they're not the throwing under the bus types. Yeah, I've never seen them like throw one of their logistics companies under the bus. So they just put here, our QML contact is on vacation this week, so we haven't got an update for Australia just yet. Now, okay, I don't know if my standards are just higher than some, but traditionally when one goes on holiday and you've got something like a major project that something needs to be handed over for, either like the company need to get, or a client need to get some data from you or something, you would hand that over to somebody in your team to say, just so you're aware, person X may come and ask for this. This is where you get the data, or this is the data. Good to go? Yes. Okay. Right. I'm getting on the plane. Goodbye. See you soon. This, I mean, actually, this post gets. There's more to it than that. It does say. There. This is from CGL. We are hustling for news as soon as possible. I don't know. Does that mean that like they go through the, I don't know, like QML's, I don't know, janitor or something? Like, do you know where the Kickstarter is? I don't know, mate. I just, I clean the sinks and the toilets. I can't get my head around the QML gig and everything that the Australians have said to me previously about how, I'm going to be polite, how difficult this company is. I don't think there is a better example than that, where you've got. I mean, I would guess that this Kickstarter will be a pretty major project for them, and yet, Bob goes to I don't know where he's gone. Alice Springs, is that where you all go in Australia? For the, I always know it's like the hottest place in the world, apart from like Death Valley. So I don't know. Is that where you all go? I mean, I presume you all go to like Tahiti and exotic places like that. But whatever. But why it really kind of like threw me a little bit is because I'm sure that it might be one of the Australian people that I converse with on here, and I could be wrong. And no, I know what the Australians are like. They'll point out if I'm wrong immediately. But I'm sure they said to me that like QML were just like shutting down over Christmas. So they shut down for what, like 3 or 4 weeks, and then Bob, he's not called Bob, right? I have no idea what his name is. In my mind, he's Bob. Bob's just like, yeah, sorry guys, I've got to go and watch the Test cricket or whatever he's doing, right? It's like, dude, like, have you not had enough holiday? I know it's summer down there. I know there's like lots of things to be doing, but the project needs some data. And I'm sorry to be making light of this. I know it's I know for Australians they do get quite rightly very upset about everything that happens to them on the hobby front. But I think we are now at a juncture where it's almost comical. Like I can, just to put this in context, right? And I know it's unfair to do this because, and I'll clarify this by saying my knowledge of QML is only second hand, but I do trust a lot of the people that I speak to, like on the channel or in the community. They're not like, they're not people with agendas. They're just like regular people who, like, if they get bad customer service, they'll just tell you. So there's no like animosity going on or anything like that. I know that there was like previous issues as well on the last Kickstarter, but like you hear that much where you're like, okay, there's got to be quite a bit of truth to this, right? And I think what might be useful for Australians in this case is just to tell you about the British logistics experience. And I kind of talked about this when I got the Kickstarter, and granted, I did get the Kickstarter incredibly early. I got it at the end of November. And my understanding is now, and again, I've got lots of like British people on here as well that watch these videos, so no doubt there'll be people saying that they haven't got it yet, but I think the majority of Brits have now got it. I certainly know a lot of people that I speak to quite regularly in the community in Britain have got it. So certainly, well underway. And again, just to put this in context, like, and I know that this is, obviously I'm not relating this in regard like the actual timings, because the shipping was still underway when we got the ship docking to Southampton, right? So you can't compare the timings as is from then. You've got to kind of, you can only judge the logistics company from the time that they get the shipping, right? Obviously. So to put this in context, my understanding was that GameQuest in the UK, they got the orders in mid-November. I think that's when we got the email saying that, or it was like mid to early. It was something like I think it was like the 10th of November or something like that. Now, I was one of the first people, if not the first, weirdly enough, to get the Kickstarter. I got it in around my birthday, so it was like somewhere along the back end of November. And then that's when I started having people contacting me saying, oh, I've got it now as well, like right up into December. A lot of them then came before Christmas. I got the second Kickstarter then that I'd ordered. I got that, well, it's whenever I did that salvage box video, so I think that was very, very early in the new year. So I think I may have got the second Kickstarter on the 2nd of January, maybe, which is like, if you think about it from a timings perspective, and remember the UK was the second largest order, right? So like, I think the US was, I'm really straining my memory here, but I think the US was like 18,000 orders, and I think the UK was close to like 2,000, and then I think like Germany and Australia were like third and fourth at maybe like 1.5 to 1,000 orders. So GameQuest did like nearly 2,000 orders, and they did have, I mean, mine was a big order, so it wasn't just like piecemeal orders. and they were putting those out, and they've pretty much completed them all within like 6 to 8 weeks. Um, I think as well, and I never ever had any dealings with GameQuest. I never emailed them. They never emailed. Well, no, they emailed me to say that the delivery was on its way, but that was it, and that was all fantastically done. Like they sent me pretty much exactly all the data that was required, exact times on delivery. So again, great. Um, I think though to do it in that window, especially when you're talking like pre-Christmas, when they'll probably be very very busy with like other projects, that was really impressive. Like for me personally, I thought GameQuest were like it couldn't have gone any better, right? And I know I'm being subjective there because I got the big delivery like very very early. But again, just I don't know anyone in the UK now who's like, even who's had a problem with it. I mean, I've spoke to maybe a dozen people. No one said to me, "Oh, you know, they forgot to put in three of the boxes or anything else." Like both my orders were absolutely perfect. Like no damage, no missing items, which I actually consider a minor miracle, given that you've got what is it like nearly well, yeah, over £2,000 worth of Kickstarter, and obviously it's all got to be picked and it's been shipped in from Asia. So if you think about all the journey that that's to take, and you know, if it had got to me and there'd have been some missing dice, I'd have been like, "Huh, you're missing some dice, whatever." But yeah, like the whole experience that I had with QML was genuinely fantastic. I mean, absolutely kudos to them. And I think sometimes like the logistics companies are forgotten in the kind of midst of what's going on, but yeah, absolutely like first rate. And when so when I see like QML saying, I can just imagine you get your out of office from Bob, like, hello, sorry, I'm on holiday. Like, you know, we know, like, you know, contact Jeanette if you need, you know, an update on your logistics orders. I mean, what's this guy? Does he just like he's just out of office? He's just turned off, or you know, maybe he's one of those like new breed workers who just sends you an email back saying, "I am out of office. Your email will now be deleted," or something like. Which some firms do, by the way. I get that from some clients that I deal with, which is fair enough. I mean, that some companies have that policy. I think if you are doing it in a logistics company, that I can see where the problems might come in there, though. To be honest, so probably not the best area to do it in. So hopefully, though, despite Bob's absence, I mean, goodness knows, I mean, how the company operate without Bob, who knows such things? But I do hope he has a good time in Alice Springs. I mean, you know, I hear it's very, very warm there at the moment, and you know, I do. I used to know an Australian who said that Alice Springs was like the worst place in the world, but. I don't know. Maybe you Australians can tell me. Is this somewhere I should put on my like you know bucket list to visit? Who knows? I digress anyway. But and I'm joking a little bit about the Australian stuff here because it's not actually too bad. Apart from you know the the disappearing act of staff at QML. It's actually you'd hope that if that delivery has got to them, which we'll presumably know at some juncture, then fingers crossed, you know, when Bob comes back and that Alice Springs beer is running through his veins and he's well rested, you better believe that he's going to be on this job for you, right? That's all I'm going to tell you. You know, he will be packing these boxes himself, 200 a day, no dramas whatsoever, because you know Bob. Fair enough, he doesn't particularly like to be contacted when he's on annual leave, but once he's in the job, yeah, you know, there is no one better than Bob. Absolute phenomenon. But yeah, I joke. It is actually getting to a point now with the Australians where you're just like, why do you even bother? Why are you in this hobby? You've got plenty of coastline. Why don't you pick up deep sea fishing or something? I mean, I can't. It's like every single bit of news is either comical or disastrous. Anyway, let's go from comical and disastrous to actually very uplifting and a huge relief. So, and this applies to the EU people as well. So a few hours after that post was put out there, Catalyst sent out a very chirpy, it was very short, like just a few lines that just said, "We've cleared EU customs." Like someone had, I don't know, maybe they'd made a few calls and they'd been able to kind of clear some things up, and it went through transit. I just want to put this on record. I don't know if that was CGL or if it was obviously, I don't know, someone down the chain that's been able to deal with that from maybe the logistics company or whatever. But if it was CGL, I want to look you all in the eye now and be serious for a second. To get an EU trading official, customs official, whatever you want to call them, to do as you ask within, 6 hours, is nothing short of a miracle. Now, I'm going to put this in context. If there was another COVID-19-esque plague, and there was desperate shipments of vaccines and medical paraphernalia, and it was sat at the docks in Hamburg, and Gunther, the export professional, saw that the box, the cargo container, was 15 centimetres under the required space remit for passing through customs, that box would not see the light of day again, right? It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't care that people were dying or that people needed triage or whatever else. Gunther would put tape around it, put it on a one-way shipment to, I don't know, some farm outside of Dusseldorf, and you'd probably never see it again. If you have dealt with the EU on a bureaucratic level, you will know exactly what I'm talking about here. So I want you all to know, and I know that a lot of people give CGL a lot of heat, but if CGL had a hand in doing that, it really is nothing short of a minor miracle. I don't know how they've done it. I would like to know, actually, because it would be difficult for serious governmental officials to do that. And I'm not even joking. I saw that report, that post, and was like, what? Honestly, it nearly I had to sit down and be like, I can't believe that. I have never ever heard of something something getting checked like that in EU customs, and then being freed up so quickly. So I am only going to assume that the head of customs and tariffs at the EU is a ginormous BattleTech fan. I mean, undoubtedly he will be a clan player, or she will be a clan player, because they're going to be slightly evil, but not so evil that they were willing to keep the good people of Europe away from their Kickstarters. So, very good news on that front. I would imagine as well, I've got no idea who the EU logistics company is. I don't know if GameQuest do anything outside of the UK. I hope it is GameQuest. I hope they are massive. I hope that they do the EU, because if they're anything as good as they were for us, you should get your orders very, very quickly. So yeah, so it was a day of hijinks yesterday. Very interesting. So, and I'm hoping now, and I know I said this before Christmas, but I genuinely am hoping that this is the last ever Kickstarter video I have to do. I do feel though obligated to do it. I think if this news had have dropped and I hadn't done a video on it, I would feel slightly smarmy, because I've got the Kickstarter. And a lot of my audience is actually Australian and European. So some of you may see this and not have actually seen those updates. So now you know. But yeah, I will continue to do that. Well, if there is any breaking news or problems or developments or anything like that, I probably won't be as fastidious as I usually was. And unless, I wasn't planning on doing this until I thought, actually, this is quite a comical situation. And, the fact that shipment was able to get unblocked from the EU tariff people was a minor miracle, and is definitely worthy of a 25-minute vlog. Anyway, that's it. That's all I want to say today. Good for me as well to get the old vocal cords back in action. So that's nice. I might do another video after this, but that won't post until tomorrow. But I'll see how I feel. I'll see how the old vocal cords hold up, but there may be another video tomorrow. Right, I'm going to leave it there anyway. So I will thank you all for watching. I hope that anyone who hasn't got the Kickstarter yet gets it very soon. I hope when Bob gets back on holiday, he is lightning quick at getting it to all you Australians. And I hope that the EU Customs BattleTech fan that we never knew we had has got, plenty of smoked Jaguar on the way to make like the ultimate evil BattleTech regiment, because they deserve it after what they've done. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you again next time.